board.
Cool. We're live. Cool.
So it's good for you on your end too?
Good for me too.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go back to, how do I get there we go. Back to the regular screen there.
Cool. Dude,
so
the market this week has actually been real crazy. Did you see Lucas went up?
I did. So that's pretty exciting. I am actually, so I'm waiting to, like, because Massachusetts is on a stay-at-home order, so, like, nothing's really open. Like, I can't go to the office. Like, I don't have a printer at my house, so, like, I haven't really been able to sell recently. But, I mean, I'm hoping in, like, a few weeks that'll change, and then I can actually sell some stuff. But, yeah, the Lucas went up, which I'm glad that I had planned on selling them for, like, 900, which is roughly what they're going for two, at least, for two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird to see because I know Giannis took a big hit and LeBron stuff too. But, like, really the only thing that I saw go up was his Prism, like Lucas Prism PSA 10, which was interesting. So, like, I don't know, it was basically like everything was going down, but then Lucas, like, last weekend was actually going up. And I did see a couple, there's like a couple for like 30 buy it nows, but then you see bids going to like 470. Like,
yeah,
really?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I think one thing that I was thinking that I've said to people who have asked me questions about, like, if I think what I think is going to happen, I think it's realistically it's going to be like a week or like 2 to 3 weeks. We're really going to determine like where things are going to go. Cause like if people aren't working in 2 to 3 weeks and then like rent and stuff is still due at the end of May, like I think or at the beginning of May, we may be in a little bit of trouble with like cards. Cause I think I think at that point, people will probably be selling a lot more. So like maybe in trouble, sort of, it may be for some people, maybe trouble. Maybe for some people, the cards might be a little bit cheaper, but I don't know. Like, that's another thing. I have no idea. Like, that's like, I feel like we've seen some spikes where it looks like maybe the market's back a little bit, but then like it drops a little bit more. So like maybe this is one of those upward spikes and then it's going to drop a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's all, again, it depends on what's going on in the world. I've been like tracking a lot, like where like people, like the scientists have been saying where like the peak will be with the whole coronavirus thing, because I think that's really going to be where people aren't willing to spend money, like that sort of time, just because people are going to be struggling with whatever situation. So like in theory, you'd think that when like the peak of this whole situation is going to happen, that's when prices for cards and stuff like that will be at the low point. So that's kind of what I'm kind of thinking and how I'm going about it with buying, because I know we're like 2 or 3 weeks away from like it actually being the peak.
So is there any point for you where you feel like, so Cardboard Commission had asked me a question on, like, when I put out that poll earlier today about like an exit strategy, like, is that something really for you? Like, do you have any, and I'm not exactly sure if exit strategy means like selling everything or like what, but like, do you have, like, would it ever get to a point where you could see yourself kind of selling everything?
Well, I could tell you what I've done so far. I literally, like, probably, I want to say 2-3 weeks ago, around there, I liquidated most of my basketball. But my whole theory was to sell now, because this was like the day when my school said like, hey, like, we're closing, because like I think that's when I really knew it was getting real. So I was like, okay, here, this is my game plan. I was like, okay, let me sell most of my basketball, because I don't really know when basketball is going to be back, and the value is still pretty decent. But I kept all of my soccer, and I have a lot of soccer. So I kept all of my soccer because I was like, yo, this is my long-term play. So now I'm in the situation here where I'm just waiting to rebuy. Like, I'm kind of figuring, okay, where's the point where's going to be the low point where I can rebuy?
Right.
So that's how I'm kind of going about it. I mean, like, because what I really got left is just mostly soccer. So if you ask me, like, hey, like, when would you say, like, hey, I'm gonna, like, when if it would get to a point where it's like I gotta sell soccer right now, like, I think that's highly unlikely for me.
Right.
But in terms of basketball, like, it's so tricky because, like, in reality, nobody really knows when the season's going to be back. It's literally just up to this whole situation. Um, so I guess it depends on the person, like, and it depends on like how much you're in each card for. I mean, if you already made it this far, I mean, I would just wait it out a couple more weeks. I mean, you never know. We could be back, you know, basketball could be back in June, or you know, it can't till August. You know, who knows?
Right.
But fairly, like, I mean, like we've seen, like Luka went up. LeBron's like top scrums looking like it's just ranging right around that 5K range. So that's kind of looks like where it's going to be staying at for a while. But again, it just depends on like the cards you have and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Especially like I feel like the main kind of thing that I was thinking about was like if you were buying 3 weeks ago, there's no way that you should be like I don't know. I mean, at this point, like if you were buying 2 or 3 weeks ago, you probably lost a little bit of money, like in
Yeah,
terms of where the
100%.
cards went. But like for me, like how I was looking at it when I was selling, like I sold like $1,000, I think worth of cards, like right before the like lockdown went, or not lockdown, but like the stay home order kind of went into effect. And for me, I looked at it and I said, I was all right selling the cards where they were at and not making any more money in the future because like of where I bought them at. Like was all the stuff that I sold was stuff that I bought over the summer for like pennies on the dollar, essentially. Like some of the Shaq stuff, which I didn't necessarily want to sell, but like I was okay. Like I think I sold the Shaq Topps rookie for like 200, I think. So like, and I bought that for like 30. So I was completely fine. Even if that card goes to 500-600, which I don't necessarily know if it will. I think I was all right not selling out, but selling on some cards where like I made a decent amount of profit already. And the fact that I view the way that I can do this, like that I think there's going to be other opportunities, which is another thing that like if you've been in the game for sports cards, you know that there's just other opportunities, and like the fear of missing out on a specific card, like you kind of just have to move on to the next one, like especially if you made profit, like because any investment you're making, any type of buying you're doing, you're taking a risk. So like if you are guaranteeing that you're going to make the money, like it's worth it in that standpoint, or worth it from that standpoint, I think.
Exactly. And you brought up a good point where it's like, look, you want to make sure you have equity during this time to be able to buy cards
Right.
with this market. And I think that's like a big thing. You know, like if you, like with the Shaq cards, like I sold a couple Shaqs too, not his Fleer ones, because I had like I think I had like 6 or 7 of them. So I sold like 3 of them.
Yeah.
And like those are some of the cards where it's like, yeah, I'm going to be giving up those cards, but I'm going to take my ROI, and now I'm going to have that equity to go in with the market that it's turning into now, and have the opportunity to make a play and grab some cards that I probably wouldn't have been able to before.
Right. I agree with that. And I think for the Shaq specifically, I guess we can use kind of the Shaq, because like me and you, I feel like we were going back and forth over the summer about like these Shaq cards, like almost like, I mean, for when we were buying them, it was like a 2 or 3 week span of we were talking about these Shaq cards like every single day, basically.
Yeah.
So like for me and you, we were looking at it, and I think we said like, if I didn't really have an exit plan for the cards in general, like I didn't know, like, I mean, I said, like, I thought the cards would go up because of his son being in the league and people collecting his son and then being like, oh, I want to get Shaq cards. So like, I think it may also have to do kind of to the Kobe stuff, but like a lot of legend stuff went up just in the past few months. So like for me, like I actually think I even sold it before I expected to sell it. Because obviously no one expects what's going on now with the virus and stuff. But like for the most part, I think like that was maybe a 3 or 4 year play that I had looked at. And the fact that I was able to go from like 30 or 40 or whatever I spent on it to like 180, 200, like that, it made sense for me to be, that's one reason I was all right selling the stuff that I sold.
Yeah. Again, like we took the ROI, and now we have that money to be able to make plays. I think soccer is really interesting. If you've been probably looking at the Mbappe market too, it has softened a little bit. The top chrome did go up though, because I think I wrote something about this or I put a video out where like I was saying like his World Cup stuff did go down, which is expected in the market that we're in now.
Mm.
But his Topps Chrome stuff was like pretty undervalued for quite a bit of time, where it's natural to see the growth in that even in today's market.
Right.
So I mean, I'm really interested still in soccer stuff.
Yeah, me too, for sure. I mean, I think also at that stuff, it was still like for me, that soccer stuff is like still a 5-6 year play. Like, I mean, I did sell one of my Mbappe's like a few months ago, maybe for like 250, but like I bought that card for like 40. So again, another example of like and also just the fact that I have like another 3 regular PSA 10s. I have 2 silver PSA 10s, and I have 8 raw that I still need to get sent in for grading. But like overall, I was all right taking the profit from some of the cards because like in my eyes, I was like at the time over the summer, I think the prices were, it's still so crazy where the prices, if you look back over the summer, where they were compared to where they are now. Like
Mbappe?
I kind of expected that Mbappe card to be in the 250, 300 range in 3 or 4 years. Like I wasn't expecting there to be such a demand for it right away.
Yeah, I think everything from the summer when we look back on it, we probably would have been like, oh, I wish I bought more.
Yeah, oh for sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, the
Especially
Lucas. I mean,
Mbappe, if you look at ROI on Mbappe, it's insane. Like,
yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like those. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Like, because I was comparing Mbappe to Giannis basically when I was looking at prices and saying like he's very similar. He's got a global kind of reach to him. And then I was looking at prices and saying like if this ever gets to the Giannis prices, like I'll be happy. And now the Giannis prices are in the $6,000 for the silver PSA 10, which like now seeing that, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see the Mbappe PSA 10 silver get to 4,000 or 5,000, which like that sounds kind of crazy, but like things have been kind of crazy if I'm going to be completely honest.
I agree, and like especially if you're looking at it, I just like there's money in soccer. Like you could just flip soccer, especially like raw cards, like numbered. Like there's a big opportunity there. Um, but especially like also you can look at it as I think we're both looking at it as like a long-term play, because when you think about young superstars and the growth that we've seen in soccer, like why not keep these guys for a couple of years if you're able to, and take just play it the long game instead of just flipping, you know? I mean, everybody has like a different situation, but like again, like how I went about it, like I sold mostly basketball and I kept soccer. That's how much I really believe in it.
Yeah, same. And I also think for some of the soccer stuff, like that was another scenario where I was buying it at pennies on the dollar, like over the summer. It feels like at this point now, like, so it's like, sure, I think for that there was a ROI on the cards that we sold, but like, I just think there's so much more room. Like for basketball, I wasn't 100% sure how much more room there was to grow, but like for soccer, it just felt like there was so much more room. And just the fact that I was buying it at like the PSA 10s for $40 or whatever I spent on it. So like I was all right keeping it because I only had the 40 in on like at least one of the cards.
Yeah. And then, so I know you've been buying the coaches cards that like you've probably been mentioning to me for like since summertime. How has Kerr's cards like been since the summer till now?
There's been not really much of a change. Like I think I bought mine for 25, and there was one the day of the announcement that they were going to be moving up the documentary. There was still one up there for 25. So like but it's sold now, so it's not there anymore. It was there the other day, and I almost pulled the trigger on that card, but I had just bought a Phil Jackson card actually. So like I didn't end up buying the Kerr, but I did buy some raw Kerrs. Like I went to ComC and I put in an offer. Someone had like 3 or 4 of them, and I put in actually, how many did they have? I think they had 4, and I put in an offer for 60 cents a piece, and the person accepted the offer. So now I got 4 of those. I don't know if I'm going to be getting them graded or if I'm just going to be selling them raw. Like
probably raw is your best bet. right?
Yeah, I mean, I might like if I think if they can get to the $4, $5, $6 range, and I can sell them all as a lot, like the fact that they put Kerr, like, because if you look at the roster, like, because this is what I've been doing the past few days, I've been looking at the Bulls roster and saying like who's on this list that's going to be playing a crucial part in this documentary, and now I'm looking at the ESPN poster, the promo poster that they're using, and those are the people I'm going to be focusing on. So it's going to be Kerr, it's going to be Dennis Rodman, it's going to be Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, obviously, and then Phil Jackson. So like they would put someone else on that poster if they were going to play a main part, because also Kerr. So one thing that I forget, did Kerr have the game-winning shot in the final game, or was it just in Game 6 and then they played Game 7? Do you remember?
I don't. I wasn't alive then, so.
Right. So he hit a game winner in Game 6, but I just don't
I know he
remember if
did a
that
game
was
winner. I just don't remember what game it was.
It was Game 6. I just don't remember if it was in the if that was the winner for the championship, or if they played the Game 7. I just don't remember. So, but I know for a fact that that's going to play a significant part in the documentary, because I mean, if they either won the championship or it kept them from being eliminated from the championship, those are two storylines that are obviously huge. And then also they included Kerr on the poster. Like so someone said so Jabari said it was to win the series. So that was the series winning shot. So I don't know. I mean, I think, and I'm just not sure where the and then someone said the assist was from Jordan. So I mean, obviously that's huge. And that's why I think it's probably going to, like, that Game 6 is probably going to be the last episode of the documentary, I'm imagining.
Dude, the documentary's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be sick. It's going to be, I can't, like, 10 parts is.
And, like, nobody has anything else to do except.
Yeah.
Like.
Jordan. It's probably like Jordan and then Mike Trout are the two players that I can think of that overall their markets have like so much they have so much equity throughout their whole career. Like Trout's obviously still in the league, but like, I mean, even like I'll see people post like new Trout stuff, and it's like, because that was the other thing. Like I was looking at some Jordan, just even base rookie stuff, and PSA 10s for just base rookies that aren't even rookie or second or third year, fourth or fifth year. They're still like $50. So it's like there's still a ton of value. And at that $50, if you can find like a card that's like a PSA 10 that you can find a reason why people might like the card. Like, for example, the article I wrote was about the Topps Finest 1994, where he's wearing the number 45 jersey, and it was the year that he came back where he didn't play the full season. So it's like, and it was like the series 2 set of that Topps Finest. So like if you can find specific reasons why cards are going to have value based on the documentary or based on Jordan's career, I think that's kind of the way that I'm going to be looking at it.
Definitely. And like with the Fleer stuff, I don't know, like if you know them, it's interesting with his Fleer rookie. See, I was trying to buy a PSA 7 of his Fleer rookie like a month ago. I think it's around a month ago, and I was going to pay like I think $2,100 for the card. But basically, when I went to go buy it, he sold it already, so I was super bummed out. But I put my money somewhere else. But then I went because when the documentary came out, I was like, oh shit, like let me try to get an MJ Fleer, and I looked, and it was like about the same price still. So do you think that maybe with his Fleer stuff that isn't PSA 10 but still like pretty expensive, do you think people would just rather have or buy cards that are more affordable if it's not the Fleer PSA 10, right? Maybe if it's a 9, an 8, a 7. Maybe, I mean, I think 9's still pretty high in demand, but maybe like for the 8s and the 7s and the 6s, do you think people would just rather go for like a cheaper insert that they might think has more demand in the future?
So I think that's, I mean, it's interesting, and I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, because like any Fleer Jordan stuff, like the rookie Fleer Jordan stuff, is going to be expensive, and it's going to be harder for people to get because of how expensive it is. So I don't know, like I think your point about that cheaper stuff, I think will have more equity in the maybe not in the long term, but like in a short term flip, like when the documentary comes out, like the $20 to $50 cards could go to 70 to 100. But like, I mean, we're already seeing like the other day a PSA 10 Jordan sold for like 48,000, which was the highest Jordan sale of any PSA 10.
Yeah,
Like I think in the history, I'm pretty sure of that card specifically. So like we're already seeing a peak of that card. So I don't know if like I would say I think that card could get into the 60 range, but like it's also I don't know how many of those are going to be selling, which is the problem because like the thing with higher end cards like that is you have to find someone who has the money to buy the card that also wants it. Like, which is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to find that buyer than it is to find a buyer of like a $50 or $60 card. But also the other thing is that like there may not be like everybody wants the PSA 10 or the Fleer 86 card, but like people may not necessarily want the other ones.
yeah.
Do you want to see if do you want to send Mike a message and see if he wants to get in here because he just bought a Jordan, some Jordan. Steelers cards had a question I got. Why am I wearing an earpod in one ear and headphones in the other? Is because my mic is hooked up to my computer and the AirPod is hooked up to my phone. So that's why that stuff is. That's why I have these weird headphones in. But yeah, I mean, I think in the long term, the Jordans, I think long term, the Fleer Jordan stuff is going to hold the most value where maybe the other Jordan stuff won't be, it won't continuously go up. Like, I think it's only going to go up. There's an echo from me talking or Sasha. It may be, I don't know where the echo would be coming from, but, what am I trying to say here? Oh, the Fleer I think is going to continuously go up, but the other stuff may go up, but then it's going to probably stay at where it's at when the documentary comes out.
And then did you say you want me to send Mike the Zoom?
Yeah, see if he wants to join because I know he just bought like a Jordan card. Like he bought one of the 86 Fleers. I forget if he bought a 7 or an 8, but I want to see if because like he's newer in the card game than.
I mean, I think Fleers are just with the anticipation still going to go up. Like if you want to do like a quick flip, but also like from a long-term standpoint, I mean, you're never going to go wrong with MJ. But like, I think the insert game is really where you could really make a good amount of money just flipping, because it seems like there's so many like stories behind the inserts, and like I don't know, it just seems like MJ inserts are I see them more flying around when I go to shows and that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I mean from the perspective of like people that I've talked to, those inserts are some of the popular cards over the base rookies. So I think it's going to be a combination of maybe people coming in that want base rookies, but then there's also people who want the inserts. I think it's kind of a combination of both. Because like those 90s inserts are limited, which is why I've been looking into inserts for like this era. I'm just not sure the angle that I want to take there yet. Cause like I was looking at like Prism rookie stuff. And then also like, cause there's some cool stuff in Optic. Like, have you seen the like My House inserts for Optic?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of cool inserts. It's just a matter of like how many of them are made. And that's kind of not an issue, but like the main thing.
Steeler card said, in my eyes, I've realized instead of investing in the Jordan Fleer, go invest in the S&P 500. Interesting. But like at the same time, like if you really look at it from the stock market perspective, like cards have done better than stocks the last year or two or so. But I mean, yeah, like a Fleer is not going to see maybe the increase in value as other cards, but it'll give you like it's almost like a safe bond. Like it's always going to give you some sort of return. It might not be crazy, but your money's relatively safe in one.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I think that Fleer card is one of it's probably the, like, because it's not even a modern day card. It's like probably the most sought after card of, like, from that era, like from the 80s, and then, which it's so much different, which is the weird thing, because it's almost hard to even compare that Jordan card to, like, because, like, what I'll do is when I'm looking up values and stuff is I'll use like a baseline for the card for, like, I'll use like Mike Trout usually for baseball, but, like, there's only one Fleer Jordan card. Like, there's the sticker, so there's two technically, but, like, there's only one card that really has the value over where, like, a Luka, there's like 100 different Luka rookies.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the iconic card. It's the card that everybody wants. It's the card that, like, when a collector sees that you have an MJ Fleer, you know, it's just like a respect factor almost.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
And it kind of gives you, I guess, like street cred in a way. In
Yeah,
this
that's yeah.
Which is, like, funny to think about, but I mean, it's true. So I guess it depends on the way you look at it. Like, if you're a collector, that's a card that you especially a basketball collector, that's like a card that you kind of almost need to have. But if you're an investor, you should definitely look at it at the same time too.
Yeah, because even just in, like, October, that was like a $30,000 card, like 30, 35, and now it's up almost 50. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I see why people get annoyed when people compare the stock market to cards, because yes, there are differences, but it's at the same time, it's like there are a lot of I feel like there are more similarities than there are differences. If that makes sense.
I agree. I mean, like, I saw somewhere, I think it was on Instagram, they were saying how the stock market the last 2 weeks almost has aligned with, like, the card market these last 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Which is interesting to think about, as, like, an entity. But again, like, the one thing that I was baffled about, and what I've been talking to a lot of people, is the whole, like, why has Luka gone up these last couple days? Like, I guess, trying to figure that out while everything else has been going down. I mean, trays have gone down a lot too.
Right.
And, like, again, I was looking at a bunch of, like, bids on eBay, and I noticed that all bids have been higher than, like, especially with PWCC and Probstein, they've been like 470s and 480s, and, you know, there's buy it nows that are at like 430, 440. And just a week ago they were selling at like 370.
Yeah, they were down pretty significantly.
It's kind of all over the place right now. And again,
I think it could be. So it's the weird thing is, like, with there being no basketball, it's like you got to think of, like, why those cards have gone up again. Like,
well, it's literally only that card. Like,
right.
Even if you look at his hoop stuff and I think his optic stuff, they're still down.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, just for me, like, if I was just looking at it from, like, a numbers point where we're at right now, I would think that Prism would still be going down. But it's not. And, like,
right,
where we're not even at the, like, as far as I'm with the news and everything, they're basically saying, look, the peak, or, like, when it's going to get real intense, is going to be in the next, you know, like, 2 weeks.
Right.
If that is true, then, like, why would this card be going up? Shouldn't it be the total opposite? You know, while I think there was like 6 million people who filed for unemployment or something like that this last couple days.
Yeah.
Like, why is this certain card going up? And I'm the biggest Luka fan ever, but, like, I'm just taking it as, like, a numbers standpoint, even if, like, we don't know when the NBA is going to be back either. So it's just something that's really interesting to me. Maybe it's just people that, like, maybe the demand is just there for Luka, which I love, but I don't know. It just seems a little fishy.
Yeah. And it could be that people are people aren't buying like they're not buying secondary options. Like they're only buying Luka. And I mean, that could be the case. So it's finally gotten to a point where people are only looking at like the blue chip players. Like they're only looking at like the Lukas, the LeBrons, the Jordans, the Giannis. Like they're only looking at them compared to before, where it was like, yes, those were the go-to guarantee good amount of money you're going to make. But like people were very focused. Like I think I got a lot of questions about like on TikTok and like even on Instagram about like what are some undervalued cards, and I feel like I haven't seen as many comments that are like what's undervalued. It's like, I mean, at this point, like everything, and that's what I feel like that's kind of the question, the answer to a lot of the time. Like literally, just if you like a player and you think they're going to be good in the future, it's undervalued, unless it's like Luka, Giannis, Kawhi, like LeBron, like. Unless it's one of those top players, like even Curry and KD are still kind of in that top tier.
KD's one guy that's been going up, which is reasonable because
right.
how he's been hurt. So that's understandable. But yeah, I was just like, I don't know, Luka was interesting. But yeah, KD has been going up, which is good to see, especially because, you know, if the NBA does come back in July or June or whatever, KD will, I think the Nets are an 8 seed. I don't know if I'm 100% right on that. But
I think they were. Yeah, I think they were.
If they are still an 8 seed and they go right into the playoffs, like if the NBA plays it out that way, KD will probably play. Which
right.
is really
like especially if because realistically it's in that timetable where like depending on how many regular season games they can still get in, and then when the playoffs start, yeah, like there's no way they're going to be playing the playoffs in June, or there's the finals. The finals are in June. The finals will not be till like July or August, probably, if not even maybe September, depending on how they kind of do that with the season. But like, yeah, I mean, in the timetable of the Achilles injury is like in that area, and like now there's no games. There's no reason for him to even be going any, especially now, because it's like, if you're an injured player and you're an NBA player and you're a star, I would imagine even if you're injured, you're still going out and doing stuff, like, which is not probably the best for your injury. Like, especially if it's like a foot / like ankle injury, that's probably not good. But like now that there's just nothing going on, like he's been like fighting with Rihanna on Instagram or something like that. Did you see that story?
That was funny.
They were on like Drake's live or something, and they were like arguing about like they were saying like nonsense stuff, which is probably like some inside joke between them or something. But like they're not, no one's going anywhere, or no one should be going anywhere. So you know, I don't know if that helps KD's rehab or if it hurts KD's rehab. Like, I mean, we'll see. But I think you're right that he could play in the playoffs depending on how delayed kind of things get.
Yeah, again, like that would be such a cool like story too, especially like, see, Kyrie is the guy that.
Well, so Kyrie is out though. That's the other thing where he may not come back, because like Kyrie is out for the rest of the year, is he not? Or is like his injury now also on the table where he might come back to the playoffs?
I'm not 100% sure, but if the opportunity did arise where like Kyrie and KD are willing and able to play,
right?
If the playoffs come back in the summer, that would be very, very, very interesting, because Kyrie's the type of guy that, like, I know a lot of people hate on Kyrie, which is understandable with how everything with the Celtics did play out.
Right.
But I would want people to take a look at, you know, those before he got hurt that first year with the Celtics. He was playing fantastic basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he's like ridiculous. Like he's so good. He's like so good. Like, and that, I think that's maybe an issue of why things didn't go well, is because he was so much far and ahead the best player on that team that like I think the problem that he was having was that I think what happened was that he was being told how good these when he came to the Celtics, all he heard was how good Tatum was, how good Brown was, how good Marcus Smart was. Because like Boston, we literally are like obsessed with this team, and like when I mean obsessed, like we love like the 8th man, 9th man coming off the bench. We think that player could start on another team. So like I'm sure Kyrie was hearing that type of stuff and was like these players are not as good as everyone says they are. So like, what is everybody talking about? So like that probably had something to do with it. And just the fact that and because he was so good that, like, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe he wasn't getting enough, like, pats on the back. That also
Yeah.
could probably be a scenario where that happened.
What do you think? So I know, PSA and BGS, they're kind of, they're not in operations right now. I heard Florida, where SGC is now, is from. I heard Florida went on like a lockdown or something. They're like one of the last states to, or it was like a stay in place order or something like that.
Yeah, that's the same with Massachusetts.
So but SGC is still in operation right now, right?
From my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. Florida is wild. So, like, I don't know if they even, I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, because I know, like, did you see there was a chart that came out that was like just people that were on spring break? Somehow people were able to track the cell phones and where they went from spring break to around the rest of the country.
Oh,
And it was like basically just all up and down the East Coast. It was terrifying.
that's not good at all.
But like, yeah, so I don't know if I'm not sure what SGC is going to do. Do you think could you check Twitter to make sure the stream is still up? Because I can't check it on my computer.
Yeah, let me check right now. Yeah,
Okay.
the reason I asked was because they could make a big push right now for like what they're trying to do. Yeah, the stream's still up.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's still up. But like that's what I'm like.
Mike just
Did
Mike just hopped in the Instagram. So I asked him if he wants to get on the stream.
I'll send him the link right now if he wants.
Okay. Yeah, we may in like 10 minutes we may need to end Instagram, but then we can probably just like restart it.
Yeah.
Depending on if how what oh wait, yeah, so it says 50 minutes on my screen for how much time we're in here.
So we'll stop Instagram at, let's say, just 7:15 to be safe. 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll just restart it. And then, because I think the stream will still be going on Twitter, which is fine. For anybody who is interested, the Heroes for Sale Twitter, I've decided that anytime I'm live, it's going to be public. So people can follow if I'm live on TikTok or if I'm live on here. All the rest of the time, it will be private unless you subscribe on Patreon, which is $5. It's patreon.com/heroes for sale. And you get an extra podcast episode every week on top of the 7 that I'm already doing. So you get 8 a week if that's not enough for everybody. And then the Twitter stuff, you'll have lifetime access to the Twitter.
Mike said he's getting on right now.